Sometimes the most powerful ideas in music are the simplest ones. I think a lot of producers, myself included, have this impulse to fill space, to keep adding layers, automation, effects, because we think complexity equals depth. But the truth is, depth often comes from the opposite, from restraint. When I was working on my new album, I started experimenting with these minimal interlocking sequences. Nothing fancy, just a few repeating patterns that shifted in small, almost imperceptible ways. But as they began to weave together, something clicked. These simple ideas started generating rhythms and melodies that felt alive, as if the music was building itself. That's what this video is all about, the power of simplicity and how a few well-placed sequences can create something hypnotic, emotional, and infinite. Whether you make ambient, techno, cinematic, or experimental music, this idea applies everywhere. That being said, thank you for being here, and let's go ahead and get started. Hey, what's going on, guys? Chris here from Signs of Life. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about the topic of simplicity. Now, I've got a new album coming out this month, and I'm so excited about this album. I feel like it's one of the best records that I've ever made, hands down, and that goes for my entire career. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. However, what I wanted to do was highlight a particular section of one of the tracks, and to do that, I dragged some of the MIDI clips out and put them in a new session. And I wanted to talk about the techniques that I used on this record because I found that a lot of my, compositions really just came from this whole idea of simplicity. Less is more, not overdoing my sequences in my composition. So that's what we're going to focus on here today in this video. So if you guys are into that kind of thing, please do stay tuned. Thank you for being here, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so you can see here that this first MIDI clip is just a very simple bass line. Now, I want to show you that, this is what I call the dotted eighth note sequence, right? You can see that the grid here is divided into 16th notes, and I have two dotted eighth notes in a row. So that's 3 16th notes, right? And then a single 16th note followed by a regular old eighth note, another 16th note, and an eighth note. And that pretty much makes the sequence until you get here, which is a quarter note, okay? So what happens is I found that doing sequences like this in a bass, context really does help add a little bit of rhythm when you need it, all right? I'm gonna show you what I mean by showing you this example, okay? So let's go ahead and just grab a bass here. We're gonna grab something from Chromatic 4, my new sound bank for pigments, all right? Let's go ahead and just grab a simple bass here. Let's grab Stone Veil, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lower the sustain down because this is a plucked bass line, all right? I'll also go ahead and turn off the reverb. Okay, so let's go ahead and just play this, and you can hear and see when this bass line goes across the screen, you're gonna feel that sense of rhythm. Check it out. Okay? So it's very simple, right? Very simple bass, right? But look what happens because we're using dotted eighth notes in this bass line. Look what happens when we start adding a dotted eighth note delay. Right, so you get that sense that like the delay and the bass is working together, okay? And that's the point. So this is a very straightforward bass, just a simple LFO on the low pass filter, dual filters here. But I really love that as a backdrop, okay? Because I was like, I need something that's just gonna sit down there in the lower end, but I want it to have that sense of rhythm, okay? So think about that in your own work. How can you mix up some of these notes? How can you change some of your rhythms that you're doing and then use delay to sort of interplay with the actual notes themselves, whether it's with the timing of the delay or just, punching in different sequences down here? That can be a really interesting concept, right? Now, pairing that with just the idea of a 4-note sequence is what I did next, okay? So look at this sequence right here. This is a very simple sequence. I mean, it doesn't get any more simpler than this, right? This is what I call the 4 on the floor, or the 4x4, right? It's just 4 simple notes in the key here of C minor, right? And there's no velocity attached to it, nothing. It's just straight up, 4 notes. And this is, of course, in the time division of 16th notes, all right? So let's go ahead and grab a preset, and we're gonna hear what this 4 on the floor, or the 4x4, sounds like next to this bass rhythm, okay? So let's go ahead and grab a preset here. I'm gonna use Delta Complex, all right? So we'll use Delta Complex from Chromatic 4. There we go. Okay, and now let's go ahead and play the pattern. You hear that? So the bass sounds like it's kind of moving underneath and shifting, but the sequence itself sounds almost like it's anchored. And I found that was really what a lot of these tracks needed, was they needed something that was not going to shift, but then act as a sort of foundation for the rest of the track to live on. And I thought that was really effective. And so as soon as I started putting these sequences in here, I'm like, yeah, now it makes sense. And especially when you pair that with, something else. You can put a dotted 8th note delay on this as well. Oh yeah, that's good. So this whole idea that less is more, right? The bass line, not even moving between notes. The 4x4 pattern, just very simple, right? Not changing, okay? Finally, I wanna show you what it sounds like with this lead pattern. Now this lead pattern was very interesting. It took me a while to come up with this, believe it or not. But you can see that this is a very simple pattern, right? Very simple pattern. There's obviously some dotted 8th notes in here, some quarter notes, some 16th notes, right? But I had this in my head, and so I just kind of punched it out in MIDI here. But it really worked in the context of adding a whole nother layer of complexity to this already simple sequence. All right, so let's go ahead and grab Pigments one more time. I will put a preset. These were not the presets I used in the album, of course, because the sound bank had not been finished yet, but I just wanted to show this to you for an example. All right, let's go ahead and use scalar frequency, okay? And what we're gonna do with scalar frequency, I'll go ahead and take out the envelope here. So it's just a very static kind of lead pattern, okay? And we'll go ahead and put some extra delay on here, extra reverb. And now let's hear what all 3 of these, the lead line, okay? The 4x4 sequence and the bass pattern sound like. You hear that? So this might even sound good at 70 beats per minute. Right? So it really works across tempo ranges. So let's go to 84. I think the original track was somewhere around 73. There we go. Yeah, that's that Starterra vibe. I like it. So if you combine this, with other musical ideas, just laying down this simple foundation, that's the whole point here. Is how can you simplify your process and lay down these sort of, base foundations so you can build complexity through simplicity. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and just add a pad here. I've got a pad. We can go ahead and load one up. The last track we'll use from Chromatic 4. And yeah, I mean, I was just like, when I was making these tracks, I was like, how can I bring out the best possible quality here of all of these tracks, but keeping things as pared down as possible, right? And that was my true goal with this record, was to make something truly simple, but at the same time sound like it it was still, you know, from the Starterra universe. Here's that pad. Beautiful bed sitting here underneath the rest of the track. Oh yeah. So with just 4 tracks, you can see and hear and feel that there's power here. It's undeniable. So sometimes starting with just very simple foundations can lead you to places and open up more opportunities for you to add your own musical voice into your own productions. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I know that when I was making this record, I was really inspired, and all I'm trying to do is just share some simple ideas for you guys so you guys can apply them and make that music of your own, all right? I'll come on here and say goodbye. Thanks for watching this video, and let me know if you guys have comments or thoughts down below. I love hearing from you, and yeah, I'll be back again soon with more videos like this one. So in the meantime, take good care, and as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. I'm Chris from Signs of Life, and I'll see you guys in the next video.